For your true Aquarius folks who really want to see what they're growing, they're going to be more interested in the glass aquarium than they are in the water tank. But to use a glass aquarium, you really should make some modifications to it. One, you've got to get water out of this thing to flow through the rest of the system, preferably without getting it all over your floor. So you can use over-the-back lifts. You can buy them in plenty of places, anywhere from $60 to $100 and something. And basically what it does is it sets up a siphon that pulls water up over the top and then down into your drain system. I've used them for years. I find them to be problematic. Splits in the lines or in the siphon hose, not enough water, too much water. These things, they don't work well. They require constant futzing. So we're going to set up a solids lifting outlet on this tank. It's a little crazy because it actually requires drilling a hole in the tank. So I'm going to go through the setup for that now, so you can see what you're in for, and then you can do it yourself. So I went to Bulk Reef Supply and bought a 1-inch bulkhead. They recommended to go along with that a 48mm diamond tipped hole saw. So what you'll notice is that this fits right over that snugly on the inside, which means there should be enough space once the hole's cut for those threads to slip through. Because remember, the diameter of your hole is going to be this outside, not the inside. So there should be enough space for that to happen, for this to slide in once the hole's cut. Problem with diamond tipped hole saws, and I'll show you this compared to a regular hole saw, is that there's no center drill. You can't have a center drill or crack the glass. So you're really grinding your way through with this diamond tip cutter. But without that on there, once you start to drill the hole, this thing is going to jump all over the place until it kind of settles into a spot. And you're going to really mar and possibly crack the glass. So the best way to do this is to make a jig. So I have here a 2-inch hole saw. This is a 48mm, and you'll notice that they fit on top of each other pretty nicely. So again, considering the outside of that cutter, that's going to be the width of our hole. So this should drop in there nicely, be pretty snug, but still have enough space that it's not recutting the wood. And then I can clamp that on here and then drill the hole with this inside that jig. To make the jig, I'm going to be using 2 pieces of wood. And then those 2 pieces of wood, when it comes time to cut the hole, we've got everything figured out. We're going to cut a hole saw hole through them first. And then we'll clamp them to the side of the tank like so, and then use that existing hole to punch another hole through the glass. Okay. To get set up for that, we have to make a few measurements. So we want to make sure this is centered. We want this SLO hole for the bulkhead as high on the tank as we can get without interfering with the rim, and making sure we've got enough glass here that we don't crack it easily because we're so close to the edge. First step is how wide is this tank? We want to mark the center point. So use a tape measure, do a measurement. This tank is 36 inches wide, 36 divided by 2 is 18. So I made a mark at 18. So that's going to give me a nice point to center on. So I've got 2 little green dots there. All right, next up, I want to look at my bulkhead and try and figure out where this thing's placed, where this thing could be placed. So I don't want it right up against the rim, because then I won't be able to turn the bulkhead, the nut that locks it here. So I want to make sure I've got some space off of that. And also, if I put the top of this at 1/4 or to 1/2 inch off of the black rim, that should give me plenty of space to put the hole in. So that would be probably about here-ish or so. So what I'm going to do, first step is I'm going to eyeball this thing. going to give myself a little more than 1/4 inch off below my 2 green dots. I'm going to look through the middle and I'm going to try and place a green dot as close to what I think is the middle of this hole as possible. And that's going to be my center point for the setting up the rest of this. All right, so there's my hole, or my hole guide. 1 green dot. Okay, so next we need to figure out where the center points are on our boards. Okay, so we'll make a mark at 6. Come at it from the other direction. Again, make a mark at 6. Those 2 marks there, right in between that is the center point. So we can draw a line through that, bisects those 2 points. Okay. And then we want to do it again this way, so it's about 6 inches, so we're going to make a mark at 3. And then we're going to make another mark at 3 inches. And then use our straight edge to bisect those 2 lines. A little lower actually. Okay, that's the center of our board. I'm going to put that on here. Notice that our green dot is a little bit off of our red line. We're going to measure that difference, and it's about a 1/4 inch difference. So we will come up, we'll draw an X, and that X is going to be where we're going to put the hole in. In the tank there's a lip. On the exterior of the tank, that lip is much lower. So I'm going to line these 2 up next to each other, and I'm going to make a mark on the inside. The inside board. Now, I'm just going to extend that mark with the straight edge. And if you have a speed square, that will work really well for this, because you can use the straight edge of the speed square. Okay, so now, got my guide, I can flip that to the front. I can line up the edges of the outside piece on those red lines, like so. And then I can clamp this together. Now this can go in the vise. And I'm ready to drill. Remember your safety goggles. Two-inch hole saw. And we're just going to cut till we go all the way through. But I found a screw. We'll do the same thing. Just let me spin that piece of wood up. Okay, put it in reverse to line it up. Back and forward to finish off. Okay, so now we've gone all the way through. So we can get this out of here. All right, we have our plug. Second plug, we're just gonna feed this back up. Has the drill bit, like so. We're gonna hang on to these. These are gonna come in useful later. All right, as you can see, we got a nice clean hole that goes through. Hole saw bit. You can see it actually cut that hole quite a bit larger just from the wiggle of the drill as it was going through. It'll still work, but you definitely don't want to go with a hole bit that's any larger than your grinding bit.